Hi guys! So in this video, we're going to talk a lot about loose leash walking. I know that it is one of the most common problems that dog owners have, so I thought I could give you a couple of different ways to work on it. I hope these help. The first method that we're going to talk about is called 300 peck. This method is based off of building a behavior 1 second at a time, literally. I'm going to insert a clip of me working with Tucker outside working on 300 peck, and you'll see I literally build his concentration 1 step at a time. So what you're going to do is you're going to get your dog into a heel position, and then you're going to take 1 step forward. Your dog should move with you and then say stop. When the dog stops with you, you're going to ask them to sit, and then you're going to click and you're going to give them a treat. If they do not stop with you and they move forward, don't correct them, don't get discouraged, just start over. It might take a few tries to get that first step to get them clued in on what you're doing. After that, after they get that 1 step, you're going to take 2 steps. Follow the same process. I would not build more than 5 steps per session because it can get a little bit tedious and kind of boring. Make sure you never correct them if they go too far ahead of you or they stop paying attention. Just start back over at step 1. If you start to correct them, they'll start to resent the game and they're not going to want to play with you anymore and they're not going to want to focus on you, especially if you're outside with a lot of distractions. I usually recommend starting this in your living room. Start it in a low distraction area first that they're used to, and then build the distraction as much as you can. Maybe move to your backyard before you go out on a walk to try it, things like that. All right, so this is where we're gonna work on 300 peck outside. So you're gonna see me moving him, getting into position, ask him to heel. In a second, I think I'm gonna ask him to sit. Yep, there we go. Gonna get a treat for sitting. And then we're gonna start. We're gonna say, let's go. We're gonna take 1 step. He moved with me. That was very good. Now I'm gonna ask him to sit again. Don't know. Yeah, he does it. Okay. So I'm gonna give him a treat. Now we're gonna take 2 steps. We're gonna stop again. Oh, he did it wrong. So we're just gonna back up, back to the first step. Notice he didn't get corrected. We're just starting over. No big deal. We're gonna start out from the very first step. 1 step. Stops. He doesn't sit this one. That's my fault. I thought he was sitting, but I had already treated him. So now we're going to take 2 steps, stop, and we're going to sit. It doesn't matter if they sit exactly straight. Just make sure you get them back into position before you start again. So you're going to see me put him back in position. Very good. 1, 2, stop again. He shakes off. He's got a little bit of an ear thing going on right now, but he sits. You see me change directions just because of camera angle. Put him back into heel. 1, 2, 3, and we stop. It was almost 4. He's kind of catching on to me, so he's slowing down a little bit too early. Here I'm asking for him to wait. I'm waiting for him to sit, but there's a person in front of us, so he's a little bit distracted. 3, 4, 5, stop, and he failed again. So we're going to start back over, and that's totally fine. Sometimes you get all the way to 5. Man, sometimes you get all the way to 18 before they fail. Then you just got to start over. There we go. That was good concentration. You see I stopped, and he looked right back up at me. Then we sit. And here we go again. 1, 2. Stopping, shaking off again because of that head, but he still sat, so I'm still going to reward him, and then I'm going to put him back in heel. 1, 2, 3, stop, shaking that head because he's got an ear infection. Sitting, good, rewarding that. Turning, putting him back in heel. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what you don't hear, because I turned the audio off, sorry, is that every time we stop and he sits, I'm giving him a click right before I give him his treat, so he knows that that's what he's doing correctly. There you just saw the guy that he got distracted by. Working outside is distracting. That's why I always recommend you start this in your living room in a very low distraction area. He's doing pretty well, though, and we're done for this exercise because we ended on success. The next method that we're going to talk about is called trips to nowhere, and it's exactly what it sounds like. You're basically wandering around acting like you're going nowhere. So you're going to have your dog with you, usually in a heel. This one's not as important that your dog is in a heel. And you're going to start walking. And as soon as your dog is not paying attention or gets distracted by something, you're going to switch directions. It doesn't have to be a complete 180 all the time, because if you're doing 180s all the time, you're going to get dizzy. So just wander around, switch directions. You can switch into your dog, so walk into where your dog is so they have to move around you, or turn away from your dog. Basically, just keep them guessing so they have to pay attention to you in order to know where you're going to go next. All right, so this is going to be our trips to nowhere example. Here I am setting up again. We're getting him ready. We're just going to wander around. Notice I didn't set him up in heel because that's not what this is about. We're just going to wander around. We're basically asking for attention simply by changing directions so I keep him guessing a little bit. So you'll just see me kind of wandering, switch directions there. I turned into him. That's pretty important because you see it gains his attention pretty quickly. So we're just walking along, doo-doo-doo. I think there's a dog somewhere at some point where he gets distracted. He does have a really good heel, so if your dog doesn't pivot like this when you turn into them, don't get discouraged. It's totally fine. Occasionally I stop and I'm going to ask him to sit. There's that guy in the background that keeps distracting him again, which is totally fine. You're going to run into distractions in real life. So here I do ask him to heel, and we're going to start over. I only asked him to heel that time because he was blocking my way. The first time he was not. So here I am walking into him, making him circle with me. Notice I do not reward him even though he did stop because he was distracted. He was not focused on me. I'm only going to reward him when his attention is on me. That time he got a little bit of a collar correction, but I consider that a natural correction just because he wasn't paying attention when I turned, and that's kind of the basis of this. Here we stop and sit before I turn the video off because we ended on relative success and he did pretty well. Okay, so I know I talked a lot about heel in both of those exercises, so I'm going to teach you how to teach heel. Now this is based off of a lure, so you're going to need treats, and you're going to need your clicker, and obviously you're going to need your dog. You're going to stand up and lure the dog behind you, and lure them back forward next to you, and ask them to sit. Heel is a position, not a movement. When we want to start moving, we're going to use the verbal cue, let's go, and then we're going to move with our dog. But heel in itself, it's only a position. Now I'm going to demonstrate it. Come here. You're going to have the dog in front. He already knows this. You're going to have the treat at their nose and move very slowly with the dog. Bring your inside foot back, bring the dog behind you, and then bring the dog back forward and bring your legs together. Dog forward and sit. Good boy. Click when they sit. Free. Let me show that again because it can get a little complicated. Treat at the dog's nose. Leg that's on the same side as them backwards. Drag them back behind you. Move nice and slow. Come back forward and sit. Good. One important thing that you'll notice that I'm doing is when I go all the way back, what I do is I switch my hand forward so it keeps the treat as close to their nose as possible. Now, free. Once they get it down, you can start adding your physical cue. I do a hip tap or a leg tap to get him to do it. So what you would do is you would lure them into it like normal. And then right when you click, you'll add your tap in and then give them their treat. Good job. Free. So then when it's finished, it should look like this. Free. Heel. Yes, good boy. Messed up his ear a little bit. And you're going to add your word the same as you would add it to anything else. You have to show them the action first and add the word later. So one more time. Free. Leg back. Lure back. Forward. Sit. Heel. Good boy. Free. Another trick that you can use for loose leash walking feels a little bit like cheating, but it does work, and I'll explain why. So you can get a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon, basically anything that's pretty large. Spread a thin layer of peanut butter or cream cheese or yogurt on it, anything that they like. You can freeze it if you want, but it's not necessary. And you're gonna hold it down so where the part with the treat on it is right at their nose, right at the heel position. And then you're gonna walk with them. This is based off of building a reinforcement history. So what you're gonna do is as you're walking, they get to lick the treat, and as you take it away, you ask them to sit. The more reinforcement history you can build with them in that same position, the more they're gonna do it, because all they're doing as they're getting that treat is trying to figure out why they're getting that treat. So the more you can do it consistently in the same position, the more they're gonna realize where they are to get that treat. Okay, I hope some of these tips were helpful to help get your dog to walk a little bit better on a leash. Ask questions in the comments or give me a call if you're having issues. If you have two dogs, definitely try working one at a time. That way they're not getting distracted and trying to play with each other and all kinds of that.